What's going on, Alabama fans? Welcome into the Alabama Football Report. Coming up on today's show, we're going to be breaking down what Kalen DeBoer talked about during his press conference today when it comes to those big-time injuries for the Crimson Tide. All the latest on that. Also, want to talk about the offensive line. Thought they looked really, really good against Wisconsin this weekend with Kadyn Proctor and Elijah Pritchett in there. Those guys seem like they are gelling very, very well and a very big time ahead of the bye week and then that Georgia game as well. Also, want to give the latest on the Heisman Watch. On3 put out their latest top 10 for their poll for the Heisman this year. So going to break that down as well. Also, want to give some praise to one guy on this team who I think is an unsung hero for Alabama. So make sure you stay tuned for the entire video of today's show. Before we get into that, though, want to give an update on our September subscribers battle against our Michigan Football Report rivals. We are, let's just call it like it is, we are kind of beating their ass right now. I want to keep that up the entire month of September. We are just 42 subscribers away from that 19.5 thousand subscriber mark, so make sure you hit that sub button for me right now. All right, I want to talk about some of the latest injury news for the Crimson Tide. Kalen DeBoer in his press conference today talking about some of these guys. Qua Russaw injured his leg during that Wisconsin game this weekend. Whether it was an ankle, whether it was a knee, whether it was both, to me, when it first happened, it looked like it was going to be a high ankle sprain, but there are also reports out there saying, it could also be his knee, but he went under MRIs yesterday, and everything seems to be all right. No tears for Qua Russaw, and that's really, really big because he's one of the best players for you on the defensive side of the ball at that Wolf position. Really a guy that, stepped up, to start the season, and I did not expect him to be a starter for Alabama, but the coaching staff has really put a lot of trust in him, and I think he's looked really, really good. Kalen DeBoer saying they feel like he has had positive progression for him already so far in the last couple of days. So, the bye week coming out a very, very good time for you. I think he should, emphasis on should, be good to go for that Georgia game. Malachi Moore left the game against Wisconsin under concussion protocol, but I think that's not going to be a very long injury for him. I think he's going to be fine in the next couple of weeks. His mom put out yesterday on Twitter that he was good. He was solid. Nothing really major for Malachi Moore. So another guy that I would expect to be on the field against Georgia here in a couple of weeks. Richard Young, however, Alabama's running back 3, Kalen DeBoer does a very good job when talking about these guys in the injury report, not really giving a lot away. He talked about the fact that, he said, I'm not really sure on Richard Young a bit. He's kind of going through an evaluation here and probably still have to do some follow-up. So, Richard Young is a guy that, it might take him a little bit more time. He injured that lower leg during that Wisconsin game. And, had to be helped off the field, wasn't really able to put any pressure on that. So, no real big news updates on what exactly happened to him, but, that might be one that might take a little bit longer to recover for him. Cole Adams, the last one on our injury report here, injured his arm during that South Florida game. Kalen DeBoer talking about, he's looked, pretty good so far this week and last week. He's just continuing to progress, and, by the end of this coming up week, Alabama is going to be really, doing a lot of rehab and just kind of, letting the guys kind of chill a little bit this week, big week for recovery. So I think by the end of the week, Kalen DeBoer said they were going to start ramping Cole Adams up more, putting some more pressure, on that arm, doing some more strenuous activities on that. So I would say there is a good chance that Cole Adams would be good to go for that Georgia game here in a couple of weeks. You had Jalen Milroe out there returning punts for you in this game early on in the game, and then Ryan Williams went in there as well to return punts. So I think you're solid at the wide receiver position. I would not, be too worried about that. It's going to be a real question, though. Who's going to be returning punts for Alabama? Because I thought Jalen Milroe, he let a couple bounce, didn't catch him in the air. Don't really like seeing that. And then Ryan Williams is in there late in the game. I thought he had a pretty nice, return on one of those punts, but, Ryan Williams is a guy that I do not want to get hurt returning punts. So it would be nice to have Cole Adams back there. He's very reliable for you, and I would like to see him, be able to recover in time for that Georgia game. All right, I want to talk about the offensive line a little bit on today's show. I thought Kadyn Proctor and Elijah Pritchett played really, really well in this game against Wisconsin. And I mean, just the fact that, you have both of those guys in there, I thought Elijah Pritchett was going to be a little bit of a question mark, whether he was going to be able to solidify himself as that right tackle, but I thought he went in there and played a very, very good game. And then Kadyn Proctor, we saw him last year, struggled at times, but he dropped a lot of weight, and then, the first 2 games of the season, he was out with that shoulder injury, but, man, I thought he looked really, really solid for you in that game against Wisconsin. So let me know in the comment section right now at the pinned comment, grade Alabama's offensive line performance against the Wisconsin Badgers this week. Grade it for me, A, B, C, D, or F at the pinned comment of today's video. You should know what that means by now. That ad is probably going to play here on YouTube, so take advantage of it. Get down there in the comments and grade Alabama's offensive line versus Wisconsin for me, A, B, C, D, or F. All right, look, I think, like I said, I thought the Alabama offensive line, the first 2 games, really, really rocky, but, you were dealing with a lot of, different situations. You had Kadyn Proctor out. You moved Tyler Booker over there to left tackle against South Florida. You put Geno Vandermark at left guard. It just didn't really, gel very well. And then you had Wilkin-Forby with a terrible game against South Florida as well. But Elijah Pritchett, I thought, man, he really, really stepped up in this game against Wisconsin. Really, really big for me, man. Alabama's offensive line in that South Florida game had 10 out of the 13 penalties. In this game against Wisconsin, they dropped it down to only 2 penalties. And what's kind of funny is they were on arguably your best offensive linemen, Tyler Booker and Jaden Roberts. But man, Kadyn Proctor and Elijah Pritchett, their Pro Football Focus stats, 0 pressures allowed for Alabama's offensive line this past week. That is absolutely huge, man. It really helps Jalen Milroe. It helps the wide receivers. When the offensive line eats, everybody eats. And I thought these guys played really, really well. And just my overall take on the offensive line right now, my confidence after this week's game has absolutely skyrocketed in the offensive line. In the starters, at least. If one of those guys go down, it might waver a little bit. But, with all those guys healthy and in there playing all at the same time, man, I thought they gelled really, really nicely this past weekend for Alabama. Also, I thought Jalen Milroe improved when it came to, calling protections for Alabama. I think in that South Florida game, there were multiple times where South Florida did a very good job in disguising what kinds of pressures they were going to be bringing, whether it was they were sliding the offensive line to the left and then the pressure came to the right, and that really didn't help Wilkin-Forby out a lot at all on that on the right side of the offensive line. And it doesn't help the running backs in pass protection either. But I thought Jalen Milroe really did, improve from week 1 to week 2 to week 3 when it comes to, calling protections for the offensive line. And, when you're able to do that, it allows the wide receivers a little bit more time to get open as well. And like I said, man, when the offensive line cooks, the wide receivers cook, the running backs cook, and Jalen Milroe can cook as well. And that just means Alabama's offense is going to be really, really scary for a lot of teams this season. I want to give a shout out to our sponsor today. That is GameTime. GameTime is the only ticketing app that I use, guys. Even before there were sponsors here at the Alabama Football Report. GameTime even has a new feature now called GameTime Picks that makes getting tickets to see your favorite teams play live even easier. GameTime Picks filters out all the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats so you do not have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. The GameTime Picks curation makes it easier for you guys to save more on sports, concerts, comedy, theater, everything that you guys need a ticket for, you guys can get it on GameTime. Prices on the GameTime app actually go down the closer you get to the start of the event. So if you're in Tuscaloosa for that Georgia game here in a couple weeks, it's always an amazing atmosphere in Tuscaloosa, but you can get tickets last minute if you want to with GameTime. If you guys find tickets in the same section and row for less, GameTime will credit you 110% of the difference. They have the all-in pricing. You toggle this feature on, and it shows you the total up front, so there are no surprise fees at checkout. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with GameTime. Download the GameTime app today, create an account, and redeem promo code CHATSPORTS for $20 off your first purchase. Check out GameTime.co for last-minute tickets. Terms do apply, but again, create an account and redeem promo code CHATSPORTS CHATSPORTS for $20 off your first purchase. That link will be in the comment section and the description of today's show. Download GameTime today. What time is it? It's game time. Also want to talk about, the Heisman Trophy a little bit on today's show as well. I think Jalen Milroe, I don't think we've gotten all out of Jalen Milroe what he is capable of giving. And, it's only 3 games into the season. You got the bye week now. I do think there's a very good opportunity for Jalen Milroe to really step up and shine and really prove a point to all the, naysayers, if you will, when it comes to that game against Georgia. On3 put out their latest Heisman poll after week 3. They've got Cam Ward of Miami up there as their number 1 Heisman favorite. Look, he's been pretty incredible for Miami. I think that's probably right. They got Jalen Milroe there at 2. Jackson Dart, who has also been very good, going to have a very good year for Ole Miss. And then Alshon Genty, the running back out of Boise State, man, this kid is absolutely electric. Number 5, they've got Quinn Ewers, quarterback out of Texas. He got injured this past week, and, Arch Manning stepped in. So I'm not saying Arch Manning's going to take over the job at Texas, but that could hurt Quinn Ewers' Heisman chances a little bit for that. Travis Hunter, one of the best players in the country this year at number 6. Nico Iamaleava, that kid's going to be a problem. I'm a little bit nervous about that game against Tennessee. I'm not even going to lie. Number 8, Miller Moss. Number 9, Garrett Nussmeier, who, my personal opinion, I think he's kind of trash and should not be on this list. Number 10, they also have Carson Beck out of Georgia, so we'll see what happens. Jalen Milroe, number 2, Carson Beck, number 10, going up against each other here in just a couple of weeks. And look, I think Jalen Milroe has done a decent job for you, but like I said, I think there is more to come from Jalen Milroe. He's doing it all for you on the ground. I think he can still improve when it comes to the passing game, but I think that's going to come for him. He's done a very good job protecting the ball when it comes to throwing it. No interceptions so far this season. And no fumbles against Wisconsin this past weekend. So a very good note on that. Hopefully he can take care of the ball and not make, silly decisions or anything like that. Look, I think Jalen Milroe, it's only up from here for Jalen Milroe this season. So, look, I think he's very much so a Heisman favorite for me anyways, so far after 3 weeks of college football. So who is your favorite to win the Heisman as of right now? Let me know in the comment section. For me, right now, I got Jalen Milroe up there. I think he's going to just continue to improve and be better and better as the season goes on. So let me know who your Heisman favorite right now is in the comment section. I also want to give James Burnip a shout out. He's my unsung hero on this Alabama football team. This past weekend against Wisconsin, he was 5 for 5 on punts landing inside the 20-yard line. And I think that, should not go unnoticed. And, he was noticed by the coaching staff. He was called out today by Kalen DeBoer in his press conference about, how well and how clutch he has been for Alabama. This past weekend against Wisconsin, 5 punts, his first punt from Alabama's 42, a 53-yard bomb inside the Wisconsin 5. That is huge. The second punt for him from Alabama's 20, a 64-yard punt, lands inside the 16 for Wisconsin. The third punt from the 30 to the 20. Man, when you have a guy like this who can flip field position in those big-time games against Georgia, against Tennessee, against whoever, man, that is absolutely huge because football is absolutely a game of inches. and a game of field position. So when you have a guy, maybe your offense is struggling a little bit and you got to lean on the defense. When you have a guy like James Burnham able to flip the field like that, man, it takes a lot of pressure off of your defense to be able to, stop opposing teams when your offense might not necessarily have their best day.